All right, everyone. If I could get you to start finding a seat here, we'll get started here pretty quick. Thank you all for being here this morning. I get to be in this bright sunlight this morning. I know there's a lot of other things going on in the community today, and unfortunately we couldn't reschedule this. The Chamber Economic Summit is going on currently. We had already advertised this in the newspaper, so sorry you can't make both of those events, but thank you for being here. Just a few introductions like I normally do, I think. Who's never been to one of these events before? Can you raise your hand? Okay, Mr. Hambright. I'll go ahead and do my staff introductions, and I'll start right here with the gentleman that just walked through the door, our Fire Chief, Lynn Bizzle. Been on the front page of the papers in the middle of every disaster going on all the time. So, Shelley Goodwin, our City Secretary. We have Leslie Embry. Leslie is our newly promoted Assistant to the City Secretary. So, she's taken on a more responsible role and just a little bit more. You've been with us for 7 years now, and she started as our receptionist up front. She's customer service number one. She's really good with resolving very difficult situations, and speaking of someone that gets in the middle of things, ice storm, whatever the case may be, she works around the clock 24/7, and she started in that position and she's worked her way up to this. She's currently enrolled in a Highland Lakes, Texas Tech University Highland Lakes Leadership program. Just spoke to the class last Friday. It looks like a very good class. I'm going to ask you to bring your class project back maybe, and you can present it to this group. Very interesting projects, very good group, very good opportunity for folks like Leslie to learn and move up in the organization. So congratulations to you, Leslie. We have 2 police officers in the back of the room. I have not met one of them. If you could both introduce yourselves, please.
I'm Officer Saunders. Officer Wiener.
Okay, and Saunders, how long have you been on board now?
I just started last week.
Last week. All right. Well, congratulations for coming on board. You're part of a wonderful organization. I look forward to meeting with you. Continuing on, we have Braxton Raymer with us today, Lieutenant Raymer with us today in the back of the room. Chad Lovelady. I'm sorry, I can barely see you standing next to Chad. Victor Martinez. Very good. We have a council member with us today, Randy Briley. Our Director of Public Works and Utilities, Chris Canesi, is with us. If you have any, we have some good news on the watering side of things. I think a lot of people are going to be pleased. We have Garrett Bond, our Assistant City Manager, Lee Foyge, our Public Information Officer, and Rebecca with us from the receptionist, our current receptionist, Andrea Schmidt, Parks and Rec Director. Who did I leave out? Oh, community outreach liaison. You're in disguise. You're not wearing the uniform. So, congratulations to you. So one of the few positions that we've added to the budget this year. So just a little bit from the council meeting yesterday. We had a regular city council meeting yesterday. A very full agenda. I'll start with the short-term rental ordinance. This is something that we've been working on for the last 6 or 8 months to revise from the 2022 ordinance. And we've put a lot of work into this. Just a couple of highlights regarding the ordinance. The ordinance is proposing to treat generally R2 properties about the same as R1. A lot more restrictive in terms of being able to get permits to operate a short-term rental in R2 neighborhoods. Also, the code enforcement side of things, we're really beefing that up. One of the things that I'm very excited about, the ordinance gives more teeth to our code enforcement process so that we're able to more effectively deal with some of the bad actors that we have out there. And I will tell you that 99% of the short-term rentals that operate in town operate very well. We don't have any issues, but there are a handful that are problematic. So with this ordinance, we're proposing, if you get a number of code violations, we'll build a case, take that to City Council, and the council will decide whether to suspend or revoke permits. So again, it brings a lot more teeth to the ordinance. The council did not adopt that yesterday. They will consider adoption of that on November 7th, and that will likely become effective January 1st. We have a lot of loose ends to tie up with the new ordinance, a lot of new requirements and things like that. But that was a big discussion yesterday. The council decided not to adopt this because there was a lot of discussion, a number of changes. We've been very transparent about the process, so we're trying to get the final revisions out to the public, owners and operators of STR, so that everybody understands what we're talking about. Outdoor irrigation in stage 4, something we've heard from people since we changed the watering time in stage 4 is that you would rather water in the morning than in the evening. The council adopted that amendment to the ordinance yesterday and changed the time. So the new time will be 6 to 10 a.m. Instead of 7 to 11 p.m. So we're going to change the watering times to 6 to 10 a.m. and 6 to 10 p.m. in stage 3. So it makes a little bit more sense. So you have a little bit more time before you get started in the morning, and you can water just a little bit later. By the way, Chris, I readjusted my system and started on that new schedule this morning. In case you see water in my yard. So the city is also going to adopt those times for parks and things like that. The council did approve a variance for city properties to allow watering 3 times per week. Again, during the summertime, a lot of communities do that because the parks, the ball fields to keep them safe, but market plots, for instance, it's the only green area in town for the public to enjoy a lot of times. Let me get back to my agenda here. Okay, also on the agenda yesterday, we had the council considered taking over maintenance of roadways in Heritage Hill Country. So Heritage Hill Country is a gated community. They've been maintaining the streets in that subdivision since the 1990s. They've been paying full city taxes. We agreed to take over that maintenance. The impact will be about $7,000 per year. We do a 10-year rotation on all of our streets. That is a very small percentage of our, did you say 1.2? 1.4% over our overall street budget. So that's something that we'll begin doing immediately. Also, there was a discussion with the council about Food and Wine Fest. And the council made 2 decisions yesterday. They, first of all, decided to suspend the event for 2024. We have the Food and Wine Fest event coming up on the 28th of this month. This is an event that's been going on since 1991. This will be the 33rd year. It's been a very successful event, no doubt. But there are some council members, there are a number of people in the community that feel like the event is not growing with the wine industry that is growing in Gillespie County. So this is a city event. We do have an event coordinator that's not a city employee that's been handling that. It's a break-even event, basically. We don't generate a lot of revenue off the event. We're not necessarily as much after the revenue as we're trying to make it more of a true food and wine fest. There's been talk about maybe a week-long event, a lot of different activities. There's a lot of examples out there. So the council did decide to suspend the event for 2024 and begin planning immediately for the 2025 event. We'll be putting together a committee of individuals that will begin planning that. So look forward to a really good event. And then I gave an update, the update that I typically give every month, the second council meeting of every month, and I'll just share a few of these details with you. Again, this is the report that I put together every single month, and it includes projects, development update, a financial update, and then I have a catch-all miscellaneous section that includes PD, fire EMS, community engagement like this. I'll talk a little bit about the town hall meetings that we have coming up. But just quickly, our comprehensive planning process is coming to a close. Thank you all who have participated in that, either via survey or in person. Your input means a lot. This is a community-driven document. You know, what does everyone in the community want Fredericksburg to look like in the next 10 to 20 years? So this is not a document we'll just put up on the shelf. It's really a roadmap for moving forward. I can tell you that I'm also talking to the council about a strategic plan. A strategic plan is less detail, more projects and initiatives with deadlines and things like that, establishing buckets of priorities with the council so that those can be carried forward from council to council and we can maintain that consistency. Development, for instance, may be one of those priorities. What does the city council want to see in terms of new development in Fredericksburg? I know we've talked about affordable housing a lot. There are a lot of apartment complexes coming out of the ground right now. We've talked about hotel and conference center in the past. What does the council, what kind of businesses, what kind of development does the city council want to attract to Fredericksburg? We've been lucky that a lot of development has just fallen in our lap and we've had the luxury of just managing that. Now we understand we're a very popular destination. We're after quality development here. And I'll talk about quality development and quality visitor coming up here in just a little bit. But the comprehensive planning process is coming to a close. Regarding permits, and I mention this every time, single-family residential building permits. There was a lot of construction activity in the 2020, 2021, into 22 time frame. You see a lot of dirt moving around. Friendship Lane is a very good example of that. A lot of very large subdivisions being constructed. You'll notice that there are not a lot of homes being constructed on these lots. About 1,230 total available lots on the ground currently. On average, we have about 50 to 60 single-family residential building permits issued every year. We're tracking to issue about 85 this year. This is what the line looks like from 2016 to date. You see a little bit more activity again in that 2021, 2020, 2021 time frame. This number is up for this year from 50 to 85 because the Lennar development on Friendship Lane is beginning to kick off. You'll see a number of homes being constructed out there. But again, about 1,230 lots on the ground. Multifamily, and this is something we've had a lot of comments on. We continue to get comments. These are your condos and apartments and so forth. 70 units recently completed. 583 units under construction currently. So you see all of the Friendship Lane structures coming out of the ground across from the middle school. Both of those developments are going to completely change the complexion of Friendship Lane. You also see something similar going on 16 North. We just had a town hall up in that area several weeks ago, and there was a lady that mentioned she gets claustrophobic driving by those things. So 583 under construction, and we have 629 approved for construction. So 1,282 total. In 2019, we had just a little bit over 800 apartment units available for rent in Fredericksburg with about 100% occupancy. So we're not sure who may be occupying these roughly 1,000 units that may be coming on the next couple of years. But we're keeping a close eye on that. Certainly the service industry. We have others in the big employers in Fredericksburg will likely be filling some of those up. But the rents aren't cheap. and I've mentioned this before, you know, the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, $1,400 a month we're hearing. The 2-2s, $1,800 to $2,200 per month, generally in that range somewhere. So it'll be interesting to see. That could really result in a bit of a population increase in Fredericksburg for sure. On the water consumption side of things and stretching resources, the 808 units that we currently have online right now account probably for about 5% of our water consumption, give or take. And I see Chris kind of shaking his head there. It's really hard to completely nail that down. They don't have outdoor irrigation. 70% of our consumption is from outdoor irrigation. They typically don't have a lot of that. So we're going to see a little bit more demand on our water resources as a result of that. Just a little bit on our calendar of events for October. Of course, we did have our Oktoberfest event. Just a little bit on the Oktoberfest event. Anybody attend the Oktoberfest event? Okay, so a number of you did. It's a good event. Last year, the attendance was about 27,000. This year, the preliminary numbers look like that's about 34,000. That's good and bad. It's a lot of good. It's some bad. You know, we enjoyed the sales tax revenues that come from that. A lot of businesses on Main Street. A lot of those businesses enjoy that traffic. It's a nuisance for others. Traffic is definitely an issue and so forth. You know, as good an event that is, it does have some negative impacts. One of the impacts is the negative impact on the square. So I will tell you that most recently we've had discussions with the event organizer post-event about potentially cutting back on the numbers and potentially even moving the event off the square. I don't know that there's a really good venue to replace that, but you know, that is a community area. It's an area for all of us to enjoy as citizens of Fredericksburg, and the mayor's very serious about preserving that. It was impacted pretty greatly. I will also mention, and we'll get to it here in just a little bit, there is a lot of activity on the PD side of the equation when it comes to those very large events, whether it's a traffic accident, public intoxication, DWI, whatever the case may be. In September, last month, we had a total of 33 arrests month-long. In the week leading up to Oktoberfest through the Oktoberfest weekend, we had 21 arrests and 17 were on the weekend. So, when I talk about quality visitors to Fredericksburg and you know, events that attract gobs of people versus improving a food and wine fest and, you know, trying to attract a higher quality visitor into Fredericksburg. I think we've been known as a high quality town. And I think the council, and I'm not speaking for Randy might want to speak on this just a little bit. The council's interested again in trying to figure out how to, you know, lessen the impact, attract that, that longer staying, higher quality visitor to Fredericksburg. Does everyone generally agree with that? I mean, I see I see a lot of heads nodding. Randy, do you have anything to add to that?
I think one of the things, maybe I'll move out of the sun's going I think one of the things that was discussed was we lose, you know, neighbors and citizens attending some of those events because it's so much larger. So many out-of-towners that are coming into town. There's a discussion right now on several council members on the amount of alcohol on Main Street. That conversation's taking place, and it has for a number of years. So the question is, you know, we do these events, do them at a higher quality and with respect to how they happened, you know, were conducted in the past, but also do a set-aside for residents. So maybe we have a resident night one night. It's more community focused. In that way, we don't get lost in the crowds of tourism that come into town. So I think that's the thinking we're kind of going down the path of, reducing the impact on our city assets. And quite frankly, one of the things I campaigned on, and I'm still working on, is how do I leverage tourism to help offset some of the taxes that we all currently pay We just went into a budget cycle. Can I have a few more
Sure.
minutes? Went into a budget cycle, and I will tell you, having transitioned from 35 years in the corporate world to municipal budgets, it is a completely alien world. They're so different. And I raise my hand every time and say, I know the least about this, and I do that quite often with Clinton. And I have to tell him that 7 times, though. So in going through that budget cycle, you know, we did a lot of consternation over a number of months, even in this room. And over many months, we did select the lowest rate possible for no new revenue for property taxes. And that does have a long-term ripple effect, and I've learned that over time as we passed that vote. And one of the things that I ran on was first responders and citizens first and quality of families and neighborhoods and infrastructure. And that vote does impact all of those things. But one of the things I went back and looked at after some citizen comments were, you know, this has a significant impact on police, fire, and EMS. So I actually went back and took a look, and the total increase year over year for our police was 11% year over year. Even at the lower tax rate, we have to tighten our belts, I get it, was 11%. We folded code enforcement into our police department. That raises it to 15% year over year increase overall. We added 7 more police cars. We took, with the generosity of the Wellness Center, they stepped back from charging any kind of membership fees for our police, fire, and EMS responders. So that charge all came out of all of our city budgets as a savings, which somewhere is in the 30,000, give or take how many folks attend the Wellness Center. And that allowed the police to double their budget for training from $30,000 to $60,000. So it was a difficult exercise. There are long-term implications, I do know that. But I think going through the exercise, I believe our police, fire, and EMS are in a good position. I believe there's more that we can do to help with that as well, because the burden for taking on all of these events does fall to our city staff, and that's one thing that I do worry about. So.
That's right. Well, thank you for that, and just hang on to that.
Okay.
Regarding the budget, just generally, the general fund that we're talking about, which is primarily made up of sales tax and property tax, supports departments like the police department and fire EMS. Those are the biggest departments. Are you going to stand up here with me? No. You can take over if you'd like. And my biggest priority is to take care of every city employee that we have. It's very hard to find police officers. We're 4 short right now. Over the past decade, we've finally gotten our benefits where they need to be, our pay where it needs to be, and we're able to attract fine young men like you see in the back here. But when they come in, we want to keep them. We need about an additional $600,000 a year in the general fund, and we get that through property tax and sales tax, just to provide police officers with a raise to keep them competitive with other communities. That's a lot, and our property tax is not going to do that for us this year or next year. So we're projecting sales tax flat, so we're having to get very creative when it comes to budget cuts, doing without, stretching things out just a little bit. We're going to overcome whatever is thrown at us, and we just had a brainstorming session yesterday, day before yesterday, regarding general fund revenues. We want to keep that tax impact low for our citizens, get a little bit more from our visitors, as Randy mentioned, and really balance things out. So we're on track for doing that right now, but we're going to get very aggressive. I just had a question regarding that. Randy mentioned having local preference for special events, like a locals night, locals night only for Oktoberfest, Food and Wine Fest, whatever the fest may be, so you're not wrestling with all of the visitors on the square. One of the biggest ways we can generate revenue in the general fund is through management of parking. Management of parking on Main Street. And this has been a real bad word in the past. Parking meter. That's not what we're talking about necessarily, but getting back to our residents. I generally avoid trying to park anywhere on Main Street on the weekend because I know it's kind of a lost cause, especially during the busy time of the year. What we would start with is free parking for our residents. You would be able to, as a resident, park in a space on Main Street free of charge. And it would be a very small fee for everyone else. The idea is to turn that space over every 2 hours instead of somebody camping out there all day. You know, it's more people walking in front of these businesses. It's spreading things out just a little bit. You know, this is a multi-million-dollar management system, revenue management system. You know, start small, build as we go. Estes Park, Colorado is a very good example of this. They have a very dynamic parking management system. We believe we can generate about, you know, $5 to $7 million a year in revenue. Now that's as much as every citizen, all citizens combined pay in property taxes in Fredericksburg, and all that goes back into the general fund. So, you know, we're going to be talking about this a lot more. That's just one of the ideas that we'll be talking about. Okay, just a few more stats here. Our police department activity is picking back up just a little bit as we're getting into, again, the busy time of the year, festivals and things like that. So it's very important to be fully staffed in PD to have the equipment and training that they need and so forth. On the code enforcement side, we're actually seeing a reduction in code enforcement violations, mainly because people aren't watering as much now that it's cooling off. So those watering violations have really gone down. The top two violations are watering and trash. So trash cans overflowing, people leaving their cans out. About 30%, maybe a little bit less now, of all of our violations come from short-term rentals. Just a couple more things. Our EMS activity is actually slowing down just a little bit. It's picking back up.
We normally have about average of 6 calls a week. This past week we had 99 calls. I forgot what the line looked like. I know it's hard to see here, but this line starts in January of this year. This is total number of calls per month. And you can see how we had a little bit of a dip, and now it's coming back up above that normal line. So they respond to an average of about 350 calls per month. The number per day ranges from 4 up to about 20 or so. A lot of those calls are medical calls. About 85% of those, Lynn, medical calls. See, I'm getting some of this right. And just one more thing. On the day of the week that the activity is happening, and again, my apologies for this not being real easy to see, but this is Saturday and Sunday, the red blocks on the end. So you can see, I'm sorry, that's Friday and Saturday with Sunday on this end. So you can see that really picks up on the weekends. Okay, speaking of fire EMS, we have someone here that I have asked if I could pick on a little bit this morning. George, could you come up here? We need a microphone for this one. Wanted to ask George to tell a story about his experience with fire EMS recently. And interestingly enough, this event happened on a Monday morning. Monday morning at 8:30, I meet with our assistant city manager and our fire chief every Monday morning, preparing for the week. And there was a fire EMS emergency call that came over active 911. And Chief Bizzle said, "Doesn't George Studer live over in that neighborhood?" And sure enough, it was George. So I'll let George take it from there.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to encourage everyone to think about prayer for not just your own health and other people's health, but for the system that provides and the people that provide, this active response that is so coordinated, and they just love their jobs, and we want them to keep loving that job. And the reason I can tell you that it's so coordinated is I showed up at my back door and yelled to Mary, my wife, help me, help me. And there was no warning ahead of time. I'd just been out watering and moving some rocks like I normally do. And 5 minutes later, EMS showed up. Katie in the EMS truck said, life flight, which hospital? I said, well, Austin, I guess. My brother lives there. And 15 minutes later, the helicopter from Kerrville arrived at the airport here at the same time the ambulance was bringing me in. 25 minutes later, I'm in Austin Hart. I'm just about on the table. So this is the call went out 11:30. I was there basically on the table at 12:15. What Dr. Jepson told me Monday was it was worse than what I imagined. It was not just the widowmaker and 4 other arteries, but there's a hidden core in your heart before it goes into the widowmaker artery that was blocked, and that was blocking everything. And I said, well, how come my brain still, I can still remember stuff, I can still function, that's a long time to be without oxygen. And he said, because of the timing. People made the right decisions. People were ready to go. The system was ready. We had a fast helicopter. I got to talk to both of the guys in the helicopter, the pilot and the medic. And he told me, he said, and these guys actually support NASA flights. They go to NASA for the support. So I had some confidence in them. But anyway, he says, I argued for you when we got to the helipad in Austin, said, no, you don't need evaluation. He goes right to the table. And if he hadn't said that, and if Katie hadn't called, made the call right away, I'd be dead. And so after that, they were able to put 5 stents in, barely keeping me alive, but it opened the flow, and I felt normal after that. They scheduled the quadruple bypass for September, and that doctor who did the quadruple bypass was there beside me when they were putting the stents in. And he said, that the guy putting the stents in, he's normally cool, calm, and collected. With you, he was pulling his hair out. And and so he knew what he was doing when he did the quadruple bypass. And I feel really comfortable with Austin Hart. And I just ask you to continue to pray for all of our services, the people who are, I was a civil servant in the military, all my life. And these people are giving their lives as servants as well. And so we need to pray for them. And I'm so thankful to be here.
Well, great. Great story, and George's story is one of many. Every time you hear ambulance rolling down the street, there's a potential for something like that. But it was very interesting from my standpoint, in a very proud moment, both after that day and today, for you to be able to tell that story. But Chief Bizzle, this is, he's Mr. Cool, Calm, and Collected. Look at him. I mean, he's like that all the time. And it doesn't matter what's burning down. He's that way on the radio. He gives everybody that sense of calm. He's just a true leader. He's been doing it for a long time. But he told me, he said, anytime there's, a heart attack or some kind of, issue like that we contact Life Flight right away and let them know about that. So Garrett gets on his aviation app, and we actually watched the helicopter take off from Kerrville, and it's headed this way. You can watch it moving across the map. So we're watching and listening, all of this come together. And, this was just a little window into what they deal with every single minute of every day, 24/7. They're dealing with that. So when we're talking about budget, when we're talking about fire EMS, emergency services, when we're asking for the citizens, asking for a little bit from the citizens,
When I'm asking for that, when Fire EMS is asking for that, it's not because we don't need it. And that will always be the case. That is my top priority. All city employees in the organization are my top priority as a city manager. Just one more thing before I go around the room here. I wanted to recognize Carol Hamerson for all of her hard work up at City Hall in the City Secretary's office, helping with archiving. Shelley, do you want to speak to that?
So when I got here like 5 years ago, we had the record that wasn't as strong as it should be. And so when Carol mentioned that she had a lot of experience in archiving, I thought perfect. So we brought her in, and now she's helping us pull together tons of different boxes that have all of the city's history, so that we can make sure we get them in order and that we preserve them for the next 100 years.
Thank you for all your hard work. Something she's passionate about and very good at, so thank you for volunteering. By the way, we're trying to get volunteers right now for a little bit of assistance at the receptionist desk. We're going to try something a little bit different. I've only got about room for 20, a list of 20 people on my notepad here, so the first 20. Anybody that wants to sign up, you're more than welcome. Okay, with that, I will start going around the room, and I'm going to start at this table with Ms. Reeves. I know she has to leave a little bit early.
Can I do a fun tidbit real quick?
Sure.
Okay, so I looked around the room. Garrett and Chris are too little. So Max, you might be the only one. I grew up here my whole life. How many times did your mom give you nickels to go feed the parking meters on Main? I do too.
I do too.
By the way.
I do too, yeah.
Good morning. My name's Becky Reeves, and I am one of the co-chairs of the Historic Home Tour this year. And I'm here to promote this wonderful event to all of you so that you will mark it on your calendars and start to buy tickets. Now, this year, our tour is representing 5 architectural periods within Fredericksburg. And on the rack card, you will see the homes that will be open on November the 18th for this special occasion. This year also, we are going digital. We are pulling the community, kicking and screaming, into the digital age, so that means there's no booklet this year. Usually we have this long booklet, big booklet. Well, this year, everything will be on the website for the Pioneer Museum. Now, how do you access that? We're using QR codes. How many of you have used a QR code before? And that's that little square that's on this flyer. And if you put your phone over that square, you're going to go right to our Pioneer Museum website where you can buy tickets. And this is the only place where you can buy tickets. It's on the website. Now, how many of you have used a QR code to buy tickets? Oh, come on, guys. All right. If it's not hard, but I will give you one little hint. Once you purchase the ticket, it's through Eventbrite. That's the organization we're using. Once you purchase the ticket, you're going to get a confirmation email. At that point, stop. Your tickets are an attachment to that email. So do not go further. Eventbrite wants you to go further because there's a big red button that says search for your tickets or here are your tickets. Do not go there. Stay on the email. That's some of the confusion that's happened. Now, if you don't want to go through that business of going to the website and figuring out how to buy tickets, go to the Pioneer Museum gift shop and ask for Barbara Ford, and she will come down and help you buy your tickets. She may even print them for you if you're really, really nice. So we encourage you to come to the Historic Home Tour this year and enjoy it. This is one of our flyers. These are the sponsors for our Historic Home Tour. On the other side is the map of where the homes are located. Now, Not only do we have the historic home tour, but we also have a wonderful preview party the Friday night before. And Chris Berger, who's sitting at this table, is the chairperson of our preview party, and she's doing a marvelous, marvelous job. There are tickets for the preview party, which you also buy on the website. So the preview party allows you to come in and view all of the crafts and the vendors who will be at the market, which is located in the historic Methodist Church on Old San Antonio. So please come, take one of our flyers, our rack cards, take one of the flyers, and get your tickets and come and enjoy a wonderful day. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Gary?
So I want to thank the city for the change that I've seen under the new leadership. Both the city council and city manager are addressing some of the big problems and big questions people have. It seemed like in the past they were just kind of being shelved or ignored. The transparency that I see, the communication to people, not only in the town halls, but the fact that anybody that wants to, city, county, or state, can watch what goes on in these kind of activities. I think that's opened up a lot more communication, a lot more awareness. Each of us needs to make sure, as we're talking to our friends, they know it exists, because most people don't, right? But you can watch any city council event or any of these. I don't know if you're doing the town halls or not, and you can walk backwards in time. You can watch them when you want. You don't have to be here on a Wednesday. There's a lot of opportunity, and if you've got friends that don't understand the technology, help them figure it out, because it's not hard. It just might be a little scary. But we've gotten an opportunity now for the community, not just at the city residents, but at in fact, the whole hill country, to see how things are working and to see what struggles there are. The fact that the city is looking for, well, how did other people solve this problem, right? They may have been doing that, but it wasn't visible. Some of the challenges of how to balance the local residents versus the tourism are actively being discussed. There's hard questions. Might we change something? Might we stop doing stuff at market plots? Possible. But it would be because there's a valid reason to change in moving forward, not just somebody's changing something. So I want to applaud Clinton and the city council for, I can see in the last year, a change in focus, a change in how management is thinking. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I can tell you we do have a lot of creative minds on council. Randy's one of those new folks that brings a different angle to a lot of things. So I appreciate people like him really helping us be transparent, supporting that, looking at things quite differently. Speaking of town halls, we're about to do our 18th town hall meeting. If we haven't been in your neighborhood, we'll see you shortly. Mr. Siegel.
Good morning, Lindy Siegel, county line resident, just over the line. Two things. Just got back from a 3,000-mile road trip up to the Black Hills of South Dakota. And I went up straight up through the heartland on Highway 83. We are so blessed. I saw so many small towns. I'm a back roads traveler that wish they had 50% of what we have going on here. So picking up where Gary left off, thank you. I'm seeing vision that I don't remember seeing before. I'm an Austin refugee, so I've been through all this growth development type thing before. Secondly, I had the great pleasure and honor of being interviewed. How many of you know who Tumbleweed Smith is? The Sound of Texas. One or two over there. He was in town at the local radio station and got to talk with him. And again, he travels the entire state, has been for 50 years, and he was commenting on all of the good things that are happening on the Fredericksburg front, and I got to reference those. Garrett, you and I have talked about this. I'll make it brief. Is anybody from the county represented here today? I don't think so.
No, sir.
Okay. Could you please engage our county officials and see what we can do about the damage that's being done? This is a price of development that I'm seeing every day on the roads that I travel in and around Fredericksburg. Can we somehow work with the developers and specifically their heavy hauling vendors. The damage that's happening to Kerr Road, Upper Live Oak, I travel these every day. I'm not going to name names, but the initials might be AK and IR for starters. They should share in this cost. I really believe that. We're going to have to do some repairs. The roads are disintegrating, and I think it should be a shared cost. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. My name is Bud Harris, and I would like to say that I really appreciate the town hall meetings. I think it's a great way to get input, a great way to offer suggestions, and have a good conversation about what's going on. So I compliment you for that. I'd also like to take a moment to compliment you, what George said about your EMS. I had a little incident week before last, and my wife called EMS. They were there, I'd say within 2 or 3 minutes. And they helped me through a very difficult situation. They did an outstanding job. I mean, they were so methodical and so pleasant in the process as well, because when you're a little dazed, things they get a little confusing sometimes, and they just did an outstanding job. I want to say thank you very much for your folks.
Thank you for that.
Hi, I'm Hugh Reeves, live in the Historic District. Clint, just curious, did the annular eclipse this past Saturday have the anticipated effect on the city that we were thinking might happen?
I would say so, and Andrea or Sean, either one? It was pretty busy though. There was a lot of traffic in town for the weekend. Leaving town, I'd heard a number of stories, people trying to get somewhere on, in fact, Lee Forgy mentioned she was trying to get to Tractor Supply, and the line of cars leaving was so long they just turned around and decided to go the next day. So, you know, kind of a precursor to the big event coming up next April. That's going to be the big one, of course, and we've been planning for that for the last couple of years, and I think we're prepared along with the county and a lot of other entities in the city to handle what's going to come from that. But yeah, it was about what we anticipated.
Do you have any knowledge when the road's going to get opened back up?
Could I get a mic over here? I'm going to go to this table right quick. Roads opened up.
Oh. Do you have any knowledge on when the road's going to get opened back up on 290?
Garrett, do you have an update on that?
Don't really have a recent update from TxDOT. I think they're close. I would anticipate another month or 2.
Okay.
Okay. They pulled all the reflective turtles up day before yesterday. It looks like they're maybe getting ready to strike pretty soon.
Okay, so another month or 2.
And I would say, I think I've mentioned it at previous events, but they have another project that will be starting up soon, closer to Stonewall. Basically, it'll extend all the way into Stonewall, but they are aware of the eclipse. That's all been planned for. They don't anticipate any lane closures during the big eclipse.
Okay, the only thing I could say is when the people were leaving the other day, I was coming to town, we watched the eclipse at the ranch, and they were backed up from 1376 all the way to Barron's Creek.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see a lot of that during the eclipse next year. A lot of activity outside the city on TxDOT roadways, people in the bar ditches and things like that. Mr. Hambrough.
We were coming back from Fort Worth on Sunday afternoon, probably 2 o'clock, 50 miles outside of Marble Falls coming this way. And we saw 2 lines of cars that were over 100 cars backed up. It was just phenomenal, the traffic going toward Fort Worth. And we couldn't figure out what it was, and I guess it was people coming from there. But it was incredible, the traffic.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
John McManus, City, no comments.
Our community outreach liaison has no comment.
I've been here 2 weeks.
She should know everything by now.
Well, Alan Johnson, Heritage Hill Country. I just want to echo Gary's comments too about the transparency and about the focus that the current administration and city council are putting on the citizens and our needs. We appreciate it. And I'd like to tell you too that because of the council's vote yesterday to take on street maintenance in our community, you've got a lot of happy, seasoned citizens at Heritage Hill Country right now. And finally, with regard to EMS, there's probably not a day that goes by that we don't have an EMS truck coming into Heritage Hill Country. It's just the nature of our population. And, you know, universally, people praise the EMS operators for their courtesy, for being very pleasant, and particularly for their professionalism and knowledge of their subjects. So I just want to echo that. We have up close and personal attention from EMS virtually daily, and thank you very much.
Lynn hates recognition, so how about a round of applause for Fire EMS again? Yes, ma'am.
Shirley Smith, I'm in the county. Has the budget for 2024 been approved?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not posted yet, so I have two questions on it.
Okay.
When will it be posted?
It should be posted. I
looked this morning.
Okay. I can get with you and provide you the.
Two questions on the budget. I noticed that the projected revenues and the projected expenditures for the police department and the parks department were hugely different. There wasn't nearly enough revenue. What happened with that?
Okay, can you get a little bit more?
Well, it was like $9 million for the police department projected expenditures and less than $1 million or something for the revenues coming in. And same with the parks department. It was $3.6 million for the expenditures and a little over $1 million for the revenues.
Yeah, so on the on the park side, they do generate about $800,000 a year in revenue. I can't speak to the revenue that PD generates exactly, but again, when we look at those two general fund budgets, the two you're talking about, they're primarily supported by sales tax and property tax. We collect about $9 million in sales tax and about half of that in property tax every year. In fact, we buy down the property tax rate by 11 cents with a half cent of our sales tax, so you're paying a lower rate than you would.
Yeah, right.
Right, so that is generally where that comes from. That's the, roughly 14, 15 million that funds PD, Fire, EMS, parks. There are some other fees that support the general fund, but that's most of it. We also have savings, a lot of salary savings in PD, some savings in parks, other general fund departments. That doesn't go away. That goes into an unrestricted reserve account that is used to balance the budget in the end. So I can tell you when we look at the budget and the development of the budget, the revenues for the year don't support the expenses, but we have the cash in the bank.
Okay.
Now, we don't have too much. We have 90-day operating. What our charter and our financial management policy requires in terms of a 90-day operating reserve in every account. But aside from that, we have that unrestricted reserve account that we can borrow from to balance the budget, to cover emergencies, things like that. Okay. And we're really not, that far out. We really don't have a lot of money in the bank. We're trying to be very slim when it comes to fees and taxes and things like that.
No, well, I think both of those departments deserve the money.
Yes, ma'am. I completely agree.
Mickey Cunningham,
yes,
City, and really the only thing was clarification. We're still in water 4
Yes, ma'am.
And so your 6 to 10 is not it's just 6 to 10 in the morning, not in the evening also, right?
That's correct, but you
Okay.
can water with a handheld hose
Yeah, yeah.
as long as it has a positive shut-off valve on it, bucket during the morning and the evening.
Okay.
During those times. You just can't water with your sprinkler system except in the morning.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Mike Hogan with Fredericksburg Computer Repair. No questions or comments.
Thank you.
Sean with the Fredericksburg Convention and Visitor Bureau. It was good for the annular eclipse. We passed out about 4,000 pairs of eclipse glasses. I think a majority of those went to residents, so that was a cool give back for the community. We will have those glasses again for the total eclipse in April, so if you're a last minute person and need some glasses, we will provide those to the community again in April. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dana Rowan City, just to clarify the water restrictions again, when does the new times go into effect? Is it as of now?
With the
Yeah.
well, but we're given about a 1-month grace period.
Okay.
So the restrictions actually went into effect with the council adoption of that amendment yesterday.
Great. Thank you.
We're going to give it about 30 days. It's taken 5 years for people to understand, so we understand, that there are going to be some people that don't get the news, but again, we made that change because of the feedback that we got from everybody. Yes, ma'am. Nope.
I'll just add that we are going to do a bill stuffer. So in your next utility bill, which you won't get till after November or at the beginning of November, but there will be a bill stuffer as well with those changes for all of our utility customers. So.
Yes, ma'am.
Cheryl Rowan, Inside the City. Just one additional comment on Oktoberfest. As a volunteer, you asked for how many people attended. I would guess that the majority of residents who attended were there because they were volunteers. Just to make that point, and there were over 1,400 volunteers that night, and I would really support a locals night kind of thing for that.
Yes, ma'am.
So that was great.
Yep. That was actually something that
Fun event to be at.
came from Brady Clausen with the CVB. That's something he did in another community.
So this is the time to say ditto on the compliments to our fire and EMS and police. Also, to the clarity and the openness of City Council and as the city manager. And I want to say that this is a wonderful city staff. So often we interact with them one-on-one, but when you see them time and time again at different events, I applaud your professionalism and your dedication very much. The only other thing I thought is when you're looking at housing, one of the things that was really wildly successful in Northern Virginia and kind of helped with the style of houses, a lot of people bought duplexes. So several families we knew, the nuclear family lived in one, and maybe the other smaller unit of the same duplex was an accessory for parents, kids in college, but wanted that independence. I can't think of a single duplex in Fredericksburg, but it might be a model that someone would like to look into. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Again, compliments to the city staff, outstanding job. I'm going to give you 2 other dates to add to your future calendar. The comment was made about the historic home tour, certainly recommend that. May of last year, we finished up the year-long 175th anniversary celebration for Fredericksburg. This year in December is the 175th anniversary of the establishment of Fort Martin Scott. I will be giving a presentation as part of the OLLI classes out at the Hill Country University Center on the 5th of December about the history of Fort Martin Scott and the interaction with the city and the county as it was in its very earliest years. next year, the month before the eclipse, on the 8th of March, we're going to actually do an event out at Fort Martin Scott, and working with Clinton and Gerald and Andrea and other folks on the staff to put something together to commemorate what was termed at the time the most advanced and important position on the frontier. It was the first frontier fort established in Texas. So you might put 5 December and 8 March on your calendar. If you want to go to the Ollie presentation, you can go to the Texas Tech or the Hill Country University Center website and look under OLLI, it's Oxford Lifelong Learning Institute, and you have to sign up to be able to attend the event. But it'll be in the afternoon out there. Oh, by the way, that on the 8th of March, we're going to cap this celebration that evening with a concert under the stars on the parade ground. We've got the 323rd Army Band coming up from Fort Sam Houston to do a concert out there that evening. They're bringing a 30 to 40 piece, their orchestra is going to come up here for that. So presuming you don't have Winter Storm Uri II, we're looking forward to having that as an opportunity for everybody in town to come.
I think
Yeah, it's free.
Dr. Hammerson may have been an event organizer in his previous life. When he first started talking about this event, we were thinking something relatively small, but we just went over yesterday for about an hour, 10 pages of line by line detail, and there's either a check mark or an X by everything. And he's checked off most of the boxes, including flying in military executives from another state, putting them up in hotels. So it's going to be a wonderful event. Kudos to you. I've learned a lot about the fort. I look forward to learning a lot more through all of your hard work. So looking forward to that event next year.
And that's on a Friday.
Pardon?
It's on a Friday?
Yes, it is the Friday before the school holiday. So we're anticipating on that Saturday, we hope to have a Fort Martin Scott Day reenactors. We expect to have a bunch of folks out of town that will come to that as well. And sometime before that, I'm guessing probably in late January, early February, Ken Cook has agreed that we're going to have a 20 to 30 page pullout in the paper of a series of articles about Fort Martin Scott that I'm working on getting put together now.
Yes, sir.
Bob Phelps. We live in the city on the West Travis Street Speedway. We have no comments except listening to the comments here at this meeting and the previous meetings. We all have much to be thankful for.
Thank you for that. Yes, sir.
Don Wagner, no comment.
Keith Lee Wagner. I wanted to thank the city for your glorious treatment of those of us who call in animal control about critters that are running around the neighborhood. They respond immediately and to successful conclusions. They are awesome, and Yvonne was fabulous, and her successors are equally so. So kudos to all of you.
You bet. And this gentleman.
I'll make sure to pass that along.
Well, they called us back, and it said Clinton Bailey, and I said, oh, Clinton's calling me. Well, it was animal control, so anyway.
You know,
great.
wear a lot of hats, right? So Braxton is ultimately responsible for animal control, so a lot of that process and response and so forth comes through him, and he's exactly the same way when it comes to any issue.
Yeah, it's great.
They even called her back and told her that the dog had been rehomed, that we called in about.
Perfect.
That's great.
Great story.
George?
You've already had your 3 minutes, George.
Well, one little extension, and that is recovery involves a little bit of activity, and it helps to have neighbors that want to help you. And so Don has been coming to my house every morning at 7:30, and we walk the Cherry Loop over a mile, and but walking, I want to encourage walking, and neighbors are part of the answer. Okay. Okay, so I have two things. One is that we have a vote coming up November 7th, and a lot of people don't know what is on the ballot. There's $25 billion at stake here, and 14 propositions, and they're all quite different. And you can't just walk up and say, yes, 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 no, no, you know. So tomorrow night at St. Joseph Hall, we'll be having a forum that talks about what they are and some of the opinions that people have. The other thing I wanted to bring up is that last month I had a special session on the underground water district and the different people controlling that make decisions about our water and how that relates. Well, upcoming here in November will be a review of the new rules that the underground water district board will be having. That'll be posted shortly, and you know, there's the people. We need to review those, and whether it's city, county, or individuals, to take a look at those new water rules. And if anybody is interested in, you know, having coffee together or, you know, having a discussion about them ahead of time, I'd like them to contact me. And yeah, so far the last 2 meetings of the board, I've been the only one there. And so anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, George.
Yeah. I'm Bert Lew. I live in the county ETJ, so I keep up with the city since I'm surrounded by the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tom Light from Carriage Hills. So just a quick question. Will the city have a voice in what happens to the middle school, the old middle school once it's vacated?
That may be a better question for the school board.
I understand they're starting to, or I read somewhere they're starting to kick around ideas about what they're going to do with that property, but
right.
It certainly seems like the city should have a voice in that.
We'll be involved. We've been in contact. Garrett, I don't know if you have anything to add. You were involved in the, you know, the bond election side of it.
Yeah, that's true. They are looking at that. You've seen all the progress on the new middle school site, so that's something they're definitely looking at. We are in contact with them. I mentioned to someone earlier in the meeting that we, you know, we're talking about Turner Hall as well and how those two might go together. So we'll definitely play a part in that decision.
Yes, sir.
I've also spoke with Dr. Joe about this as well. It's been a couple months ago since we've been in session. And he paints a picture which I think is pretty attractive. We live right behind the middle school track, and it's a big residential area. People walk their dogs and run on the track. So I've expressed to him from just a residential perspective, protect and preserve that track for community reasons. He also understands that some of those numbers are historic, so they can't go out with them. But he does envision potentially some of his administrative staff moving to that facility. And based on his experience, he has seen in Houston, I think, where they had a community center or maybe just kind of just an area where you can go read a magazine, quite frankly. So I think he has a broad picture of what that looks like, and more will develop over time, I'm sure. He does communicate well with the city. I'm speaking loudly. So he is engaging the city on this, and I believe that he has a vision that I think would align nicely with what we would like. That's my opinion.
And just to mention one other thing. I believe the school district is holding regular bond project update meetings. I haven't seen one advertised recently, but that's something that the school board had recommended. So be on the lookout for that.
That's a great question, though, and that's a huge opportunity for something that would really benefit the community. Right, absolutely. So looking forward to that. Yes, sir.
Bill Vernon, I live in the city. No questions.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Alan Williamson, I live in the city, no problems, no complaints.
All right. All right. Anyone else? Mr. Seagull.
Real quick, save the date, please. Parents, grandparents, great-grandparents. Saturday, November 4th, our local EAA. Thank you. Our local pilots group is hosting its second annual Young Eagles Day. And in June, we flew 65 kiddos ages 8 to 17 for their first flight above Fredericksburg. So come on out. You need to pre-register. It'll all be online. Thanks.
Very good. Thank you all for being here.
Nature and beauty along the fairways at Lady Bird have a way of slowing life down. While the front nine features significant elevation changes and the tranquility of Live Oak Creek, the back nine stuns with its panoramic vistas of the surrounding hills. As the home of the Fredericksburg Junior Golf Foundation and the Fredericksburg Middle School and High School golf teams, all of us at Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course are proud to support our community's tradition of excellence. Lady Bird Johnson Golf Course. Practice, play your way.